Are you curious to know what the difference is between living in downtown Atlanta versus Midtown Atlanta? If so, this video is for you. I'm going to explain what is similar and different about these two areas. I definitely have my pick of which neighborhood I would prefer to live in, but there's some developments happening in one of these neighborhoods that might change, where you might want to live in the next 5 to 10 years. So stay tuned. We're talking all about living in Atlanta right now. Hey guys, my name is Molly and welcome back to my channel where I talk all about things living here in the Atlanta area. And hey, thanks for following along. And if you haven't already, make sure you hit that subscribe button. But okay, one of you asked me in one of the comment sections of a video of mine, hey, can you do a comparison of downtown versus Midtown? And yes, I can. So, if you had to ask me where I would personally live, I would definitely pick Midtown over downtown for various reasons. But I'm going to go over a couple different topics here, and then you can make your own decision of where you think you would rather to live. And let me know in the comments if you prefer downtown versus Midtown. So first up, let's talk about green spaces. Both of these areas have green spaces. Midtown has the beautiful Piedmont Park and downtown has the pretty Centennial Olympic Park. The main difference is, I think, is the size. So Centennial Olympic Park is smaller in size, and if you took a run around this park, it's just under a mile. So you don't get a lot of distance in here if you're trying to really get some laps in, some exercise. Versus Piedmont Park, if you ran around the perimeter of this park, that's about a 3-mile loop, and there's a bunch of trails interweaving throughout. Piedmont Park is just loaded with a lot more amenities. You have the public swimming pool, there's playgrounds, there's the botanical gardens there's a dog park. Centennial Olympic Park is more of water fountains. They have the Olympic rings from 1996. There is a playground over there as well, and it will be also host of a lot of different special events. And Piedmont Park also hosts a lot of different festivals and events as well. But I would say Centennial Olympic Park is going to be a lot more touristy in nature versus Piedmont Park. Well, yeah, you're going to have tourists in that park, but it's going to be full of a lot of locals as well. Next up, let's talk about entertainment or things to do in both of these areas. And I will say both areas do have a lot of different things to do. It really kind of just depends on which one you like more. So in Midtown, you're gonna get more of an artsy scene. You've got the beautiful Fox Theater, which has all sorts of different Broadway shows and that kind of thing. And there is the Arts District up on the northern end of the neighborhood with the Woodruff Arts Museum, where you can go catch a symphony, or there's the High Museum of Art. There's also the botanical gardens over there in the Piedmont Park area. Midtown does have a little bit more of a nightlife scene than a downtown area, and Midtown is going to be having all of the different parades that go down Peachtree Street. You won't get parades that happen over in the downtown area. Now over in the downtown area, you're gonna get more of a touristy type of entertainment scene. So there is the Georgia Aquarium, there's the Children's Museum, there's the World of Coca-Cola. Trust me, if you go there once, you don't need to go again. There is the College Football Hall of Fame. There is that iconic Ferris wheel that's in the downtown area. So in my mind, those are all more things that you go and bring, your family when they're in town. It's just like a very touristy thing to do. So that's kind of like the big touristy area of the downtown. Plus there are the sporting events. So if you are into football, although our Falcons have not been the greatest football team lately, but there's also the Atlanta United soccer game, or you can go watch the Hawks play over at the State Farm Arena. So if you're a big sports fan and want to live really close to that where you could walk to it, then yeah, you might enjoy the downtown scene a little bit more. But yeah, for the most part, you're going to either get touristy stuff or the sports entertainment venues, and that's kind of what you'll find in the downtown area. Next up, let's hit on restaurants real quick. I think the restaurant scene, in my opinion, is way better in Midtown than it is in the downtown area. Again, most of the restaurants in the downtown area are geared towards out-of-towners, the touristy people, versus the locals. I find that there's better restaurants and more nicer restaurants in the Midtown area than in the downtown. Again, only my personal opinion though. Next up, let's talk about the cleanliness factor of these two neighborhoods. Now, this is kind of a strange topic, but I think it merits a conversation around because I kind of feel a difference between the two. So for Midtown, I think Midtown does a great job of keeping this neighborhood clean. I see machines going around picking up trash, and even though there are some homeless people in the Midtown area, I don't think it's like overly abundant of homeless people, and it doesn't create a huge eyesore. Now, when we get over into the downtown area, it kind of depends on where you are at. I kind of break down the downtown area into 3 different sections. So first off, you have the touristy area with the Georgia Aquarium, the Centennial Olympic Park, the football stadium, etc. That area is generally pretty well kept up and clean, and it's very pleasant to be around. Then we get over a little bit east into the hotel district. So you're gonna have all of your big chain hotels, you're gonna have a lot of conferences, out-of-towners staying here, and primarily this runs along Peachtree Street. And for there, you're gonna find a few homeless people hanging around, and these buildings are just a little bit older, so it does feel a little bit older in that regard. But then as we move south, we're going to get into kind of the government buildings, and the Georgia State University is down that way. And that's where things started to deteriorate a little bit. There's less people hanging out there, the homeless population increases, and I remember when I was out vlogging that area one time, I was walking by one of the parks that did have quite a few homeless people in it, and it did kind of smell. So I did notice that. I'm just not gonna sugarcoat it and be real blunt and honest with you. And as you get down to the very southern part of the downtown area, that's where it really goes downhill, and you find a lot of people just hanging out, homeless people. And then you get a lot of abandoned buildings over there, and it just does not give you a warm and fuzzy feeling. It's not a place that I would be walking alone at night. So those are kind of the different areas, and depending on which area of the downtown area, you're going to get a different cleanliness factor. Now let's talk about living options in both of these neighborhoods. Now, Midtown is primarily condo buildings, and that would be the same for the downtown area. So Midtown by far is going to have a lot more options than the downtown area, and I feel like a lot more newer options. Now, if you're looking at condos in the downtown area, the condos near kind of that touristy area, those are going to be pretty nice condos, and you'll get some designated parking. But if you're looking at some of these condos further south in the downtown area, one, you're going to notice that the price is significantly cheaper, and you're probably wondering, oh, what's wrong? Well, there are some differences, because one thing is that these buildings are just really, really old, and you may not have a washer and dryer unit in your condo unit. Instead, there is a common area down the hall where you have shared laundry facility. So not exactly ideal for everybody. Another thing is some of these buildings don't have designated parking. So instead, you're having to pay a monthly fee to park in a nearby commercial parking garage. So that's also kind of a drawback of some of these older buildings in the downtown area. Now in Midtown, a lot of these condo buildings, you're going to have a parking garage and a designated parking spot. Even if you're looking at a garden style type of condo building where there isn't a parking garage, there's generally a parking lot with a designated space for your unit. Now, one cool area that you will find in the downtown area that you won't find in Midtown or anywhere else in Atlanta for that matter is a small little area in the southern west part of the downtown area called Castleberry Hill. Now, I have a whole vlog tour of this neighborhood, so you can go watch that on my YouTube channel if you want to know more. But if you are into authentic, raw-looking lofts, then this area is definitely for you. This is an area of old warehouses that have been transformed into loft spaces. There are some pretty cool ones, and there are some that are very raw and a little too raw for my taste, but some people love that. You know, one thing is, like, when you're walking around this area, it's not going to be for everyone. It is a little bit on the edgier, very urban feel side, and will have definitely a different vibe than in the Midtown area. So it's one of those areas that you just got to walk through and see if you're comfortable with it or not. But it is definitely a very unique spot. So if you're looking for something unique, that is definitely something unique to Atlanta. Finally, the last topic I want to cover is just the overall lifestyle between Midtown and downtown. So I find with Midtown, you're going to have a lot more permanent residents that are out and about. I find it a very vibrant, lively scene, very modern, up to date, and you're just gonna find people out walking around at all different hours. In the downtown area, this is just a lot more of a touristy area. So for me personally, I would not want to live amongst all the tourists that are always changing And especially when there's big sporting events, you're gonna have that influx of people there and then they all leave. And I wouldn't want to put up with that every weekend. So I think that is just a personal preference. You are going to have to be prepared to be surrounded by a lot more tourists and out-of-towners in the downtown area than you would in the Midtown area. Now, both of these neighborhoods are very walkable, but what you're walking to varies drastically between the two neighborhoods. In downtown, you're mainly walking to hotels and tourist attractions versus Midtown, you're walking more towards restaurants and Piedmont Park, that kind of thing. One thing I want to mention is grocery stores and access to grocery stores. In Midtown, you have a Publix and a Whole Foods, plus there is Trader Joe's along the eastern side of this neighborhood. In the downtown area, that is one thing that is very lacking in this area is a real chain grocery store. So you're going to have to always be leaving that downtown area to do your grocery shopping. And that one big thing that is definitely missing in the downtown area. Now overall, I would pick Midtown over downtown just because Midtown is a little bit more put together, and I feel like downtown has definitely struggled to get with the program. They try to put these things down in the touristy area to attract people, but it's just a little too touristy for me. And you know, there is something though that is in the works in the downtown area that may change the trajectory of this neighborhood, and I'm very excited about. And what they are doing is there was this big hole in the ground near the State Farm Arena and the Mercedes-Benz Stadium. People used to tailgate there before football games, but it was basically a big piece of property that was really being underutilized, and they called it the Gulch. And finally, they have broken ground and they are creating an area called Centennial Yards. This is a $5 billion with a B, yes, $5 billion project that is going to be kind of a mixed use, kind of a sports entertainment area. Plus they're already starting to build a hotel and an apartment complex. These are both 18 stories high. So I'm really excited to see what will happen here. This is a 10-year plan, so you know, this is not going to happen overnight, but it could be an area that explodes just with new attractions and things to do down in the downtown area that otherwise it was kind of lacking. Another area to keep your eye on just east of the sporting arenas is an area called South Downtown, primarily along Mitchell Street. This was called Hotel Row back in its heyday. It used to be a really cool spot to get a hotel, and there were restaurants and that kind of thing. But then it all just kind of fell apart, and basically all of these buildings were abandoned. There wasn't a lot going on down here. There's a lot of homeless population. And the great thing is that this German company came in and acquired 53 buildings around here to basically redevelop and turn it into a thriving commercial space with retail, restaurants, art studios, and that kind of thing. Unfortunately, their foreign investors kind of backed out of the deal. You know, interest rates were high and there were a lot of construction delays, so they peeled out. And so this German company tried to sell it to an Atlanta developer, which that didn't work out. But there were a couple of Atlanta tech startup investors that came in and basically have taken over the project. And so I'm really excited to see what happens with this area, especially with the Centennial Yards development. This could be just a really cool space and area for people to go and hang out at after big sporting events, and hopefully bring the downtown back to life like we all are hoping for. So some of the FIFA World Cup games in 2026 are going to be hosted here in the Atlanta area. So I know they're trying to get some of these developments off the ground. They won't be fully completed, but it will be something great for people that are coming to watch these games nearby that they can go to and hang out at. So I'm really rooting for the downtown area, but for now, in the short term, I'm definitely still pro Midtown as my #1 choice of where I would live if I had the choice. So I hope this video was helpful for you in understanding the differences between downtown and Midtown. Honestly, if you are here, go drive around both. And please, if you do visit Atlanta, don't just hang around in the downtown touristy area. That is just one little sliver of Atlanta as a whole. And I don't want you to think that the downtown area is what Atlanta is, because we have a lot of other cool spaces around the Atlanta area, like Piedmont Park, the Beltline, there's Buckhead, that kind of thing. There's Stone Mountain that's a little further away, but Yeah, don't spend all your time in the downtown area and just fall into the tourist traps. That's like a one-day place to hang out, but then after that, go check out other spots. Okay, I digress on that, but thanks for hanging with me. And hey, if you are thinking about making a move to the Atlanta area, as always, reach out to me, shoot me a text, give me a call, send me an email. All my contact information is down below in the comment section. Now, if you happen to see me out in the wild, make sure you say hello. I love running into you guys. But hey, until next time, I'll see you around the neighborhood.